Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Today I am doing some updated championship table predictions. Now I know I did predictions at the start of the season before a ball was kicked, and I will refer back to those ones at the end of the season, see how wrong I was. But I thought I might do a new prediction based on what we've seen after 5 games in the championship. It's my own opinion, so if you don't agree, that's fine. Get your comments down below, but do make sure to hit the like and subscribe button as we get into this video, guys. You can see I've got my top 2. My playoff mix. Now, it's not just the teams in the playoffs, but the teams I think they'll be on the outside of the playoffs, so probably from 3rd down to about 9th. We've then got playoff chasers, which are the teams around mid-table that have an outside chance of the playoffs. Safe, which is kind of like the teams in no man's land, but they're not going to go down. And my bottom 3. Let's start with Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield seemed to be a bit of a wild card after last season. No one really knew what to expect from them coming into this season. I put them mid-table at the start of the season, and I'm starting to think I could be wrong. It's hard to judge. They've only played 4 games, but they've lost 3 of them, and I don't think they're going to have a great season, personally. I think going forwards, they don't look amazing. Not as good as last season, anyway. And at the back, they've been letting in quite a few goals. I think Huddersfield could actually finish in the bottom 3. I know it's controversial, but based on what we've seen so far, we've seen teams before in that second season, after having a really good season, dropping away. I'm not sure, because of the quality that left and the manager that left, if Huddersfield can have another good season. I'm going to say bottom 3. Next up then, we've got Birmingham City. Birmingham, I didn't expect to have a great season, and their start has been okay. It's not been great, though. The most recent result was a 1-0 defeat at home to Wigan in a game where they were playing against 10 men for a large portion of it. Albeit, they have picked up some decent results here and there. They have picked up their first win, and they've got a couple of decent draws. I did watch the full 90 minutes against Watford, and I thought they were quite good there. I like the link-up sometimes between Deeney and Hogan. I think Eustace is trying to get his feet under the table as quick as possible, just to get those points in as fast as possible, and I can actually see Birmingham just surviving. I don't know what's changed my mind. I don't think they've been amazing so far, but I think there's a way in which they could just keep grinding out enough points to stay up. They're not going to set the world on fire, in my opinion, but I'm going to say Birmingham City stay up. Let me know if you agree. Next up, we've got Luton Town. Luton Town had a slow-ish start, but at the time of recording this, they did pick up their first win against Swansea, and they're a team that seems to go from strength to strength as the season goes on, and I can see them really pushing back into that top half as the games go by. They're a very tricky team to beat. It's not easy going to Kenilworth Road, and we've said before, this club is on the right trajectory. They are heading to another top half finish for me. Can they live up to the playoffs of last season? I don't know. I'm going to say they're a playoff chaser. If you're a Luton Town fan, do you agree with that? I just think maybe this time around they're not going to quite make it, but they could be in the mix. Next up, we've got Watford. Watford, for me, are going in the playoff mix. I think out of all the teams I'm going to put in the playoffs, I think Watford have got the best chance of maybe getting in the top 2. But with Watford comes some uncertainty about that front line at the moment. I know Dennis has gone. Sarr's been linked with a couple of clubs, but they've still got a very good front line. I think their recruitment's been quite good, and I think the manager's getting his feet under the table quite quickly, and they've been picking up some good results already. Watford seem a hard team to beat. I'm going to say they finish around 3rd or 4th, so I'm going to put them in the playoff mix. Could see them making the top 2. We'll see as the season goes on. They're definitely one of the contenders for it, but I do like Watford. I think they've been playing some good stuff. The results have been good. I think the performances are going to keep getting better. West Bromwich Albion are next, and they also had a slowish start like some of the teams we didn't expect to, but just recording this after the win against Hull City, and that for me is surely where their season has to start. It's a 5-2 win. The goals were pouring in. Defensively, they might need to tighten up, but the performances have been there against Cardiff, against Blackburn, against Watford. I feel like they could have got something more from all of those games. I'm going to say West Brom finish in the playoffs. I think they'll be around 4th or 5th. They've got a manager that knows how to make the playoffs. I know Steve Bruce might come in for some criticism, but I still think that squad there is surely good enough to get into the playoffs, and that's where I'm going to put them. Next up are Blackpool. Blackpool, for me, I was a bit uncertain about at the start of the season. When Critchley left, Appleton came in, and I looked at the squad and thought, I don't think they'll go down, but is there enough for them to have another good season like last year? And do you know what? I'm going to say so. At the time of recording this, they've just beaten QPR away 1-0. They've just come back from losing 3-1 away to Burnley to draw 3-3. There's something about Blackpool, this never say die mentality, and there's something really about them which makes me think they could be chasing the playoffs this season, maybe around mid-table. Let me know if you agree. Next up are Blackburn. Now, Blackburn have had a very good start with 3 wins from 3, but then The 3-0 defeat away to Reading, the 3-0 defeat away to Sheffield United. Is that a reality check for them? Blackburn for me are standing out as a team that are quite clinical because of their XG. They're not creating massive amounts, but they're still scoring some good points, especially in those first 3 games. As I say, back-to-back 3-0 defeats makes me think, what are we going to come to expect from Blackburn? I think they've had a good start, they might level out, and I think they'll be a playoff chaser yet again, maybe around mid-table for Blackburn. Next up, Hull City. Hull City coming into this season were always going to be that dark horse because they had their first season where they stayed up and now they're really looking to build on it with some transfers coming in. And I think Hull City are a club that is good to see them back on their feet. They're really going in the right direction. Can they make the playoffs? It could be a tall order, but I'm not going to say it's impossible. So I'm also going to put them in the playoff chasers. I think Hull City have picked up some good points so far, but that defeat to West Bromwich Albion is either going to be a blip or it's a reality check for them, and they need it to be a blip. They want to bounce back with some wins soon. I'll say Hull City could be a playoff chaser this season. Next up, Sheffield United. At the start of the season, I backed them to win the league, and after 5 games, they are now top. They did lose their first game against Watford, but since then, I feel like they've been pretty solid, especially at Bramall Lane. I've said Sheffield United away is a hard game for anyone in this league, and I'm going to stand by them finishing first, at least in the top 2. I don't think, if they don't finish first, I think they'll finish second. I really do have that much trust in Sheffield United. Like I say, because they've got Paul Heckingbottom for the full season now, there's something about Sheffield United which makes me think they're going to be a very hard team to knock out of that top 2, especially now they're top of the league after 5 games. They're going in the right direction. Next up, Wigan Athletic. Wigan is a tricky one because they've actually been alright so far. They've only played 4 games and they haven't lost yet, which is pretty good. I think they could be one of those teams that's come up and has that bounce from promotion because they were so good in League One that they have a good start. Things might level out, but I still don't think they'll go down. I don't think they're going to drop into the bottom 3. Can they sustain a playoff chase? I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I'm just going to slide them into safe. They could finish about 16th, 17th, so it wouldn't be a terrible season. Wigan fans might be looking up the table considering the start they've had so far. I have been impressed. I'll keep an eye on them. Cardiff City. Big club with big expectation. They did make the playoffs a couple seasons ago, but last season they kind of dropped down a bit, and I wonder if they can really bounce back this season. So far it's been okay. There's been a decent performance here, but then a bad performance there. Seem to be a very hard team to predict. Whenever I back them to win, they'll lose. Whenever I back them to lose, they'll win. Cardiff City are just the hardest team to put your finger on in this division. As for their squad and manager, very solid. But are they really going to get going this season? So far, I don't think they're playing to their full potential, so I'm going to be mean and put them in safe. I can certainly see Cardiff City breaking into the top 12, but for now I'm going to put them down there considering their start hasn't been fully what they're capable of. Bristol City are next. Bristol City just seem to be getting going now. That win against Luton Town, 2-0, nice. Then they won against Cardiff, 2-0, once again, nice. I think Nigel Pearson might just slowly start to be getting the best out of Bristol City. I've only seen them in glimpses so far this season. I know they dumped my team at the Carabao Cup 4-1, but yeah, there's some good signs there with Bristol City. I like Naismith and Atkinson at the back. You've obviously got Vyman going forwards. You've got Conway. There's so many good players at Bristol City. And like I say, if they could just really gel this season, I actually could see them battling for the playoffs. So I'll put them in the playoff chasers category. I think Bristol City are a club I'd love to see in the top flight because they are a big club and they've never been in the Premier League. So I'll put them in playoff chasers. Next up, Norwich City. Now, there was people having a couple of question marks over Norwich after 3 games. But look, the Championship is a marathon. It's 46 games. And Norwich do pace themselves quite well over the 46 games. And I'm going to stand by them making the top 2. That was actually my top 2 at the start of the season. Sheffield United and Norwich. And I'm going to stand by that. I think Norwich are starting to get going. I know they're not the same Norwich as 2 years ago. They've not got Farker, but Dean Smith knows this division. Sargent looks to be quite good, and they've just got quite a lot of quality there. They're creating a lot. Their XG looks quite good. I think they're starting to trend upwards again. Swansea City. Oh, now at the start of the season, I had Swansea as my dark horse, my personal dark horse to challenge. I think I put them about 7th or 8th. After what we've seen so far, do I seriously think they're going to make the playoffs? It could all turn around, but right now I'm going to say no. I think Swansea City have had a slow start, and because of the football Russell Martin plays, there is that expectation for them, but is it delivering just yet? It might take a while for it to deliver, but so far, I've got to say, Swansea are underwhelming, in my opinion. I like them, I like the manager, I like the fans, I like the style of play, but not good enough for me so far. I'm going to say underwhelming in safe. Next up, you've got Millwall. Millwall, for me, going in the top 6. Now, at the start of the season, I said Millwall finish in the top 6, and I'm standing by that. So far, they've had an okay start. I'm recording this just after their most recent game, which was against Norwich, and they lost it. But not many teams are going to go to Carrow Road and get a win. Millwall, for me, are a team where they're really going to be hard to beat at their ground. I mean, the Den is just a fortress. It was last season, and if they keep picking up points on the road here and there, together, they should collect up enough points to make the playoffs for me. I think they've got a good team, and Gary Rowett is one of my favourite managers in this division. I'm going to stand by them being in the playoffs. Next up, you've got Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough. A club with massive expectation coming into this season, but they have had a slow start. They're only not bottom because Coventry have only played 2 games. So, I don't know. Ultimately, in the Championship, things turn around very quickly. Remember, Nottingham Forest were bottom after about 7 games, and then they went on to make the playoffs. So, I'm going to be nice to Middlesbrough and still say I think they could make the playoffs. I'll put them in the playoff mix. They've got a good enough manager there with Chris Wilder. They just need things to turn around quite soon, otherwise they could get left behind, and the chances will be slimmer and slimmer if it takes them even longer to get that first win. I do think they'll get up and running soon, though. They've got plenty of quality there. Queen's Park Rangers. Their most recent results haven't been great. Their performances are okay. They drew with Rotherham and lost at home to Blackpool. They're games where if you really want to make the playoffs, you've got to get 4 or 6 points. So I think QPR could fall short of the playoffs this time round, but I could see them being in that discussion, so I'll put them in the playoff chasers. Once again, good team. Beale's a new manager, so he might take a little bit of time to find his feet, but ultimately they're a good enough team to be in the top half at least. Preston are next. I might go as far as saying Preston are possibly one of the biggest surprise packages so far this season. I know they've only scored 1, but to go 5 games without conceding is well, it's going to be breaking some records, surely. They look very, very good, and they are actually creating chances. So as long as they keep the goals out, the wins will start to come. Honestly, I've been really impressed by them. There's the 0-0s against Watford, which look quite good, but then there's the 0-0s against Rotherham, where you're like, oh, should they have won that one? No disrespect to Rotherham, of course, but I think Preston are starting to get things going. The win against Luton was quite impressive. The goal in that game, goodness me, was amazing. Like I say, there's some good players there, Potts, Brady, and I think they will do well. The signings look to be paying off. I'm going to say they could be in the playoff mix around 7th or 8th, or could they sneak into 6th? I think they could be in that discussion. Preston, for me, have got off to a good start. It's about building on that foundation. Burnley are next. They're also going to go in the playoff mix. I think performance-wise, they should have more points on the board than they do, but they are throwing away silly points and drawing games they really should win. Ian Matson's red card in the Blackpool game, it shows he's got quite a bit to learn, I suppose, but ultimately they're scoring goals, they're scoring some worldies as well. And I think there's a good team there. Once again, with the new manager-like company, he's going to take a little bit of time, but I think the wins are going to start to come, and I reckon they could. I think they could still finish around 6th. Could they finish higher than that? Possibly. It's about when they really get going, because after 5 games, they've only won 1. So I'll put them in the playoff mix. That's where I'll put Burnley. Rotherham are next. Rotherham. This is a tricky one. Now, at the start of the season, I don't think I saw any content creators, any YouTubers not go for Rotherham to go down, and Rotherham have gone and put 2 fingers up to all of us, which is brilliant. Honestly, I've said, wouldn't it be great for Rotherham to come up and stay up and prove us all wrong, because history tells us Rotherham keep going down, but this actually looks like the best chance they're going to get, considering the players they've brought in and the start they've got off to. I actually think there's a real chance. But I'm going to be really harsh. I really can't pick 3 teams to go down. And Rotherham, for me, despite a good start, I could still see going down. Like, they're more than capable of pulling out good results, especially at home. But even on the road, you know, they haven't lost yet. But can they maintain that over a 46-game season? I'll leave that for them to still prove me wrong and put them in my bottom 3. But Rotherham, I've been impressed. Keep doing what you're doing, because I do like it. Just going to put them there, maybe about 22nd or something. Reading are next, another team a lot of people predicted to go down. I'll put my hands up and say I didn't, though. I think I backed them to stay up around 20th. Even then, they're doing much better than that. After 5 games, they're 3rd, 3 wins, 2 defeats. That home form, that home form is really something to build on. I think Paul Ince is getting the best out of this Reading team. Can they sustain a playoff push? Probably not, but I still think they'll be pretty safe, quite comfortably, of the bottom 3, because, like I say, 9 points already. If they just keep chucking in early wins, they'll be so many points clear of the bottom 3. They won't need to look over their shoulder too much this season, which is refreshing after last season. It would be nice for Reading to have a good season. I'm probably being a bit harsh by putting them in safe. I think they could finish around 17th or 18th, but they could still prove me wrong. They've had a good start so far. Next up are Stoke City. Oh, Stoke, I'm so sorry, but I don't like the mentality there at the moment, and I'm going to put you in the bottom three. For me, there's something not quite right at Stoke. I wonder if they change the manager, could they just suddenly surge away from that bottom three? Because I'm leaning towards O'Neill out at the moment, and I think it's not good for the club. I think watching some of their performances, their heads go down. They obviously brought in a couple of good players. Stoke always seem to be a tricky team to predict, and right now I'm saying bottom three. As I say though, they've got the capability to turn it around and start climbing away. I just don't think there's anything really good going on at Stoke City at the moment, and they've won one game, I think, against Blackpool so far. Other than that, I've not really been impressed. Stoke are going in my bottom three. Next up, we've got Sunderland. Oh, do you know what? I had a lot of optimism for Sunderland coming into this season, and I feel like it's really paying off. I'm actually going to go as far as to say Sunderland could actually be in the playoff mix. Maybe around 7th, 8th or 9th. I wouldn't rule them out of the playoffs altogether, to be honest. They've had a good start. Ellis Sims looks really good. And yeah, the manager there is obviously one who knows the Championship. The fans are obviously buying into it because they're a big club and, you know, the positivity is back at Sunderland. I could actually see Sunderland being in that mix. Last up, we've got Coventry, and I'm going to be really boring and not actually put Coventry on here because I'm judging teams on 5 games. Coventry have only played 2, and we've played 2 away games. So has my mind massively changed on where I put Coventry at the start of the season? I don't know, because I don't really know what I'm judging it off. We've drawn with Sunderland and we've lost away to Millwall, so give us a few more weeks. I think our home games are going to start going ahead, and then I might move Coventry onto this tier list. It'd probably be between these two at the moment, so I don't know. I'll leave it there for now. That wraps up my video, guys. Do let me know your thoughts. If you're a Coventry fan, let me know where you'd put Coventry. It's very early, though. If you support one of these teams, let me know your thoughts on that. Do hit the like button, do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.